Hello everyone, George here, and we are back again with my implementation of Toejam Earl in VR, concept piece. And we last left off where we had brought in our different hands that are going to be used based upon the kind of present. And it just makes sense for us to kind of wrap things up and spend some time creating the Earl arms, as well as create, well, you know what, it's probably less important for us to create the Earl arms in a concept piece like this, and better for us to spend some time creating the shoes that are necessary for the other presents. So we had a couple other presents in mind for this game. So right now Icarus wings have been modeled. We have rain tomatoes, and we have food pretty much enabled. But now we need rocket skates and spring shoes. So why don't we go ahead and reuse this scene file. Since we don't have any materials or anything that are going to be kind of nasty for us to bring over, it's just easy for us to do a, let's just say I want to do rocket skates. _01, enter. Let's see if we can find some reference material. Toejam Earl rocket skates. So let's come in here now. General size of a shoe or foot is going to be a little bit bigger than the size of our hand. About a quarter larger than our hand, I'd say. So we can go ahead and begin making a shoe. So let's go ahead and bring in a cube, and it's going to be probably about that big. A little tall, but that's probably okay. So let's go ahead and delete all of the other items in the scene for right now. Now we have saved this out correctly as rocket skates, so we're not going to lose any of our work. And let's go ahead and move that over there and just center that up. And first thing we're going to do is probably put number 2 on that for our subdivisional surfaces. And then we're going to pop down and make the bottom of the shoe, and then probably the back of the shoe as well. Something like that. And then we need to make the opening on the top, of course. We're probably going to want a couple different cuts in this as we're going through it. So we can do a multi-edge cut maybe like here, and then another one in here. And then we can take this cut now, and we'll probably do an extrusion and bring that in, and then do a G key down and in, and that's sort of the interior of our shoe. Now, I don't know whether or not we're going to have legs. That's not something I've been thinking about, so yeah, we'll get there eventually, but right now we're not kind of thinking about it. Let's make a cut down the center of this object so I get a little bit of detail to work right here. So we can come in now, grab our vertices, unselect those ones, pull this forward a bit, do the same thing with this part of the mesh, just so we have something that we can work with. Now, a typical shoe is going to have something going on here. How much of that something though, it depends upon how much we want to put into the texture of it itself. It will come up though, and that's something we're lacking right now. So maybe we should grab all of you and do an extrusion. And if that would get out of the way, thank you very much. So it looks like we got a little bit of a problem there. I selected something incorrectly. So let's grab this face and unselect that one. And now do an extrusion up. Now we have a lip around that top part of the shoe. And we should be able to go in here now, and if we go to 1 key, if we take these now and kind of pull them up a little bit, we'll get something that kind of goes around the foot. Now, one thing that I'm concerned about is right here, this part should probably be raised up, being the tongue area of the shoe. Okay, now, of course, we're probably going to want to round this out a little bit in the back. Grab both of these, just pull them back as well, and then whatever's in there, give us some space to work with. Something like that, maybe. And then, of course, a shoe, depending upon if it's left or right, is going to favor one direction. So we're probably going to want to pull one up, pull one over like this. And then a lot of times shoes are going to fan out a little bit on the back side of this thing. So we're going to push this out a little bit, something like that, I think. I've got a cat in my lap who will not leave me alone. Let's see. So then we also have the bottom part of this thing. So if we assume that there's going to be a texture right here that's going to be the sole of the foot, then we also are going to need the rocket skate part of this entire thing. So I'm wondering if I just go around here and grab this and we do an extrusion here, how bad this is going to look. It's looking kind of bad, but let's see if we can't insert a multi-cut edge there, and that becomes the rockety part, which we can see right here, that sort of silver piece right there. where it's going to connect to the, ooh, look at the back of that. That's not good. Let's take a look at this from the side and just get a better sense of what's going on here with our geometry. So let's do this, move you up to, whoops, let's grab you, move you up to here at least, and then the two of you should probably go up to there. And then we got some problems as soon as we did that. So we're gonna grab everyone, I think, and fix this real quick. So we'll grab you and you. I like working with limited detail, especially early on, so that these kind of problems are easy to deal with, so I'm not moving tons of vertices around. If you want to work with tons of vertices, you might as well jump into ZBrush, which unfortunately, I have an older version installed at the moment. So if I do want to jump into ZBrush, it's going to take about 20 minutes to install and get everything set up. But we're going to stay away from ZBrush for the moment until I feel like I have to go into it. And I rarely feel like I ever have to go into ZBrush. So let's make that thick. And then now we've got that part of the shoe. And then I'm guessing we want some sort of a rocket. Two like booster, maybe 3 booster rockets on the back, which will be a cylinder. Something like this. And then we'll grab these faces and just kind of shrink them down a little bit, something like that. And then what I would like to do though is maybe make this a little bit more stylized and bring this in and then do a extrude. No, I want to do, you know, this is where we're going to get into some trouble if I'm not careful, because I might want to do too much. But we're going to do something like this. Bring it in, bring it out again, and then pull that out. Something like that. Okay. And we're going to rotate this now. Whoops. 90 degrees. And then we want to grab the inside of this as well. So let's grab, we already have it selected, so that's perfect. And let's go ahead and bring this in. G key, whoops. Bring this over here and shrink that down a little bit as well. Something like that is probably good enough. Now this is going to be probably too large, so we're going to shrink it a little bit. Move this into the center point. D this to here. D snap that up to there. Bring this up to here. And then this will be one of several of these elements that are going to be popped into this. So Control D, move this one down, move this one over, and do the same thing again on the other side. And now we've got our rocket thrusters, which need to be inset into the shoe. That's okay. That's fine. It's cartoony, it's wacky, it's supposed to be that way. So we'll go with it. Now I almost want additional detail. I don't know if it's going to be the texture, but I kind of would want some sort of like a tube going around the side of this thing. So I'm thinking maybe we can create a curve, come at this from the side, and just make maybe a curve that starts here, comes up, comes over, comes around here and comes to the back, maybe over there. Let's just see where my curve is. There it is. So let's move this to where I want it to actually be and start manipulating it in 3 dimensions. So we'll make this come around to the front, I think. And then we'll have this come, whoops, looks like we're missing a point there, a control point. And let's move that maybe like right around there. And this in here, whoops, stick with the curves, please. And this one can probably get pulled back around over here. That's the nice thing about the curves is you can create really nice curves with these tools. The problem is going to be when we move this over to being a polygonal surface and how it's going to get subdivided to work properly. But let's see what we can pull off here. I think this one is going to get pulled back a little bit, something like that. And just have this sort of come into the center. And let's do maybe up on this and then in here someplace. So they all kind of converge right there in the middle. Okay. And I don't know about this being like right in the middle, but you know what? Let's just try it out and see what happens. So we'll put this right here and that'll loop around. I almost feel like maybe we'll do this a little bit higher up, give it a bigger wave going on there. Now we just need a something to extrude across this thing. Now we could use a polygon if we wanted to, or we could just bring in a NURBS curve itself. So this one's huge, as you can see here, a circle. So let's minimize that. Let's rotate this 90 degrees. And let's W and C middle mouse click. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Okay, so C middle mouse onto this curve right here, and then shrink that down to something that's going to work for us. I think I'm going to want it to be a little bit bigger. Now that's not, I guess that is kind of centered. It's hard to tell, but it's close. It's close enough probably. So how's the thick? So we'll leave that as it is, but we'll grab this curve and then this curve, and then let's do a surface, and can we do an extrusion? So we'll notice some funkiness going on there. So let's go over to our sides over here and do fixed path on, so it actually follows the path properly. I hate that. I don't know why that other one, that's even a feature. And then we're also going to want to reverse the normals on this tube, but we'll get to that. Use profile normal, direction, that's all fine. So now we just look at it and get a sense of whether or not this is something we like. I'm not opposed to it. I think it's okay. We're going to have a little bit of problem connecting the two, but it should be fine. Let's see what it looks like if we change the size of the curve. You know what, I kind of like it larger, so we're going to go with it bigger, something like that. Okay, so now that we've done that, can we go to surfaces, and then there should be a flip or a rebuild in reverse direction. Can we do that? Yes, reverse direction. Now that we've done that, we can go to edit, modify, and then we want to convert this to a polygonal surface, so NURB to polygonal. And we're going to do quads. Actually, you know what, we should probably do general, and then choose how many of these ones we want to go in each direction. And then this is going to definitely be too low, so let's do 6 and then probably like 20. Hit apply, and we get a sense of what this one looks like. So let me see here really fast. So if I can grab that polygonal surface, come on. All right, if I move that, come on, where are the polygons? There we go. So that's the polygon surface. So we definitely don't have enough. So let's go back in time a little bit here. And instead of 6, let's do 8. And let's do 24. Hit apply. That looks a lot better. Okay. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and edit delete all by type history. Get rid of that history so I can get rid of the curves, which I no longer really need. Let's see. Let's get rid of... Let's see, we can get rid of U, and then we can get rid of that one. And that leaves us with this curve, which I like. Okay, now we're going to want to mirror this over to the other side. And then actually, you know what? We kind of want to keep that curve, don't we? We want to, because the curve isn't going to quite work going the other way. So can we mirror the curve? That's the question. So let's Control D the curve, and then let's flip it going this way to a -1 value, and then we'll bring this curve over to the other side, and then we'll manipulate it individually just like before, and we'll keep most of what's going on, but there's going to need to be enough changes to this curve to where I don't want to have to do this on a per poly basis. So here, like this right here, this needs to come out to follow along with that part of the profile. And then we've got this stuff up here, which I'm going to push back a little bit, I think. Yeah, that's good. Now, unfortunately, did I go ahead and delete that curve? I did. Like an idiot. I jumped the gun a little bit, as usual. But anyway, why don't we just take a new one, and we'll shrink it down to the right size, and we'll make it work. It's not going to be a big deal. After all, we can refine it and make it whatever we want to. So let's rotate that 90 degrees. Bring this up, hit the C key, and make sure we're moving it in the center of it. Let's try that again. Come on, you can find it. That's the curve right there, perfect. All right, and then we'll scale this down a little bit so it matches that. And then we'll grab our curve again, and let's go ahead and do a surface. and we will do an extrude. Great. And now let's go ahead and make that path 1, so it follows the path, and they'll come together back there. And then we'll have to do some repairs ourselves to make that work. And let's go to modify, convert NURBS to polygons. And we're going to choose the same settings as before. That should leave us with something that works pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and delete the NURBS curve from before. And we are going to go in here. I'm going to hide the old curves just to make sure that they're not going to give us any problems. I'm going to delete the history, and then we're going to start linking this stuff up. So let's go in here now and see what we can do really fast. So obviously, we need to merge these two objects together first. So let's go ahead and fuse them. Go to vertex mode and merge to center. G key. And let's see, there's going to be one in there. So let's go to X-ray. It's these two right here. I'm going to merge them. G key. And then we're going to need to merge these ones over here. And I can do merge to center, although that's going to distort them more, but I don't think anyone's really going to notice. So we're just going to do it like that. Okay. And that's pretty much just fine. Let's come around to the back side now, hide out some of these elements, and fix these together. So these two, merge to center. And actually, you know what? Let's hide the entire shoe while we do this. It's just going to make our life easier. And let's go into X-ray mode. And actually, maybe this is not going to make my life easier. Merge to center. Merge to center. Merge to center. Some of these are a little awkward to visually look at. I think I screwed that one up. Let me take a look here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's these two. We're going to need to modify that probably a little bit. And then there's two in here that need to be fused. Okay, now that they're fused, we might want to go in here and just do a bevel. Something like that to even them out a little bit. That's better. All right, let's go ahead and bring our stuff back. So grab all these, what was it, Shift H? There we go. And let's go ahead and turn X-ray off. So there we go, we got something that looks like a rocket shoe now. Texture could really help this out a lot. And you know what, I am going to go to this edge and bevel that. Something like that. All right, now let's go to our mesh display, soft hardened edges, and that's pretty good. We're gonna do the same thing for these three. That's great. And yeah, I think that works just fine as a shoe. Let's take our different elements now. Let's round this out. So let's go to hit the 1 key, mesh, and smooth, 2, close, and we'll grab all these elements and we're just going to fuse them together. Go to edit, delete by type history, and all we need now are what looks like skates on the bottom. So just some simple wheels. We're not going to do anything special because you really won't be able to see this stuff easily. At least, especially not in this version of the game where it's one player as far as I can tell. So I'm not implementing any networking stuff for this concept piece. So let's go ahead and grow. I hate grabbing these. Can we go to two faces, to contained faces? There we go. Something like that. Do something like that. Do something inwards. And do something like that. And that's fine for escape. These will not rotate. I don't plan on having them do anything special. So we're just going to plop these right onto the object and insert them slightly. Something like that. And then we'll duplicate that one, move it off to the side, and then we will duplicate both of these, putting the pivots in the center, and then let's do a mirror. And we are not going to cut it. We are going to copy it, and we'll do world space. X is fine. If we hit apply, there we go. And fuse them, and fuse that as well. And now we have our rocket skates. Good enough. let's just get our position right here. Move that up in space, and there we go. Simple. not the most interesting looking model in the world, but definitely just fine. Grow. Let's grow this selection actually. I'm going to move these out to the side like there. Okay, fine. So let's call this what it is. Let's edit, delete all by type history really fast, simplify things down, and rocket skate underscore. I guess, what is this? What foot is this? This is going to be our left foot. So L. And then all we need to do is duplicate this. So let's go to mesh. Well, let's duplicate it first, Control D, and then mesh, mirror, and then we're going to do a flip in the x-axis, apply, close, and then call this right foot. Now, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to need these to truly be separated. So what I'm going to do is just marry them up in the center of the world as close as I can, something like this, something like that, I guess. And that's going to be your feet that you see when you pick the right present. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to group these together. Rocket skates. And we might as well go ahead and start giving things materials. So we'll call this rocket skate M. And of course, we have to go down to the actual geometry to do that. Save and export this out. File, game exporter. And we'll do rocket skates. Let's choose where we're going to put this because it's not going to be in arms. Presence. Let's just call this rocket skates. Yeah. Choose rocket skates. Export. Export successful. Great. Now spring shoes, I envision, are going to be very similar. All we have to do now is remove some of these different elements. So why don't we go ahead and do that? So let's close this, move this over. We might as well just delete the right one because we're just going to flip it around. And we can ungroup everything, grab the junk that we don't want anymore, which is all of that, and these. And now we just need to make a big old spring, which we should be able to do using one of the create methods under Polygon. I believe there's a spring, right? Or we'll use helix. Okay, so let's create our helix. Now I kind of want to do this right the first time. So we'll do this up here. We'll do that. And then the number of coils. That's probably fine. And then the radius is going to be kind of crazy until we fix that over here. 0.05, how about that? That's still too big. How about 2.5? We're getting closer. Yeah, you know what? We'll go with that. Now there's way too many subdivisions on the coil, so let's tone that down to maybe 35. Even that's pretty high. About 25. We're looking better now. Once again, how much you're going to see of this, I don't know. So that's why I'm kind of being on the safe side with some of this stuff. Now I do want to see if we can't grab like this edge here, flatten that up a little bit. And then what I want to do is actually, can I do, so it's going to be based, it's not going to be based on volume, is it? It's going to be based on distance, which is what I don't want. So I want this soft selection to be based on the surface. So what I want to do is just kind of flatten some of this out a little bit. So I have a top that is flat. And that's better. And now what I can do is D and V snap this up to the top, and then V snap this up into here. And then we're going to shrink this whole thing down a little bit to something like that. I'm going to duplicate this and move it off to the side right there. So that's very simple, but at the same time should work just fine for what we're trying to do. We're going to harden or soften these. Now I wonder, maybe I should rotate this so that they're kind of opposite. So negative 270 or maybe negative 180. That's good. Now I'm going to leave these as separate objects. So we're going to call this spring front and spring back, I guess. And so then we have this thing, we have rocket skates, and we have rocket skate, so we have the shoe. And then we have a transform, which is no longer necessary. These two are going to go under rocket skate L. They're going to retain their pivots just so I can do this in the game if necessary. Boing, boing, boing. Not perfect. You can see a little bit of a problem there, but overall it should be good enough. Now, you know what? We can probably make that a little bit better. So let's move this down a little bit and move this one down a little bit. And then grab both of them and then shove them up in there. Now that should be better for us. So now instead of rocket skate, this should be called spring shoe underscore left, and then spring shoes. And then all we need to do now is duplicate this and flip it. So go ahead and duplicate, and then mesh, mirror, flip, apply, close, and we should be good to go. So let's just rename this to R. Just double check to make sure nothing bad's going on here. And you know what? I've been saving in rocket skates, so I just completely undid all of the amazing work that I've done before. So what I'm going to want to do is save this scene out as spring shoes. And we are going to want to delete this, file, import, and we're going to want to bring in our exported out asset and repair the damage we've done. So under models, we'll go for rocket skates. There they are. We're going to file, save this scene as, under scenes, rocket skates. Yes. Okay. Now we can go back, and actually before we do anything, I do want to jump in here and just make sure, okay, those are named properly. Now we can go to open scene and then spring shoes, and just make sure that these are named properly as well. So we have shoe. We should probably name this shoe left, shoe right, just to differentiate. And then underscore L. Never a bad idea to be too much of a pain in the butt when it comes to naming, because usually it's the naming stuff that comes back to bite you later on. At least that's what I find. So, okay, so we've got this. Now that's not good. So let's WD and V snap this to the bottom, and then X snap this, whoops, vertically snap this to there, and then save this as spring shoes. And now let's go ahead and do our exporting. Before we do that, we're going to right click, assign new material, Fong, and call this spring shoes underscore M. Okay. And one other thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our hypershade really fast and nuke our other material that's in here, because we don't want the rocket skate material being associated with this either. So now we can go to File, Game Exporter, and instead of rocket skates, spring shoes, and models is fine, hit export, and okay. Great. All right, with that, we now have both assets inside of Unity. Let's just do a quick check to make sure that's the truth. So I didn't see anything load up, so hopefully they were so small it doesn't matter. So we have spring shoes. So here they are. That's great. Boing, boing, boing. And then we have rocket skates, which is great as well. Whether or not we decide to go in here and put particle systems and everything on there, I don't know yet. That's definitely something that's not required for the game, but might be kind of fun to implement as well. With that, we're on 31 minutes, so I'm going to cut out and we'll come back to this shortly and implement some of these features as presents. So long, everyone, and goodbye. Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more, remember to subscribe and hit the bell if you want notifications about new videos I upload. And if you'd like to help even more, consider becoming a patron on my Patreon account. Links, as always, are in the description. See you next time. So long, goodbye.